Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. This is Carol Parisi. Today, our founder, Jack Roeser, and myself are joined by Peter Breen with the Thomas More Society. And we were talking about parental authority over abortion. And we've had a lot of discussion over the break, so let's kind of bring our listeners into what we were discussing during the break, Peter.
Sure, and really we've got to remember that the rest of the country is coming to its senses on this, and it's only Illinois that's late to the game. If you looked at a map of the country, from New York State to Montana, every state in between has parental involvement prior to an abortion, whether consent or notice, except for Illinois. And I know that when I have folks coming from other parts of the country, they say, look, you guys, the rest of the country is figuring this out. It's not as bad as it looks in your state. Everybody else is fixing the problem.
What it's about is some underage kid gets an abortion, and they can do that without the parents having any knowledge of it.
You know what? I just want to say something.
The doctors are not reporting this. The trashy docs that will do this kind of a thing are not reporting it to the parents.
But not all of these procedures go well. So I guess my question to you is, a 14-year-old child goes in for this procedure, and let's say there's an infection or something. Now this child comes home. The parents know nothing of this procedure, where all of a sudden this child could become toxic, and the parents are going, oh, I don't understand what's going on. I mean, this is about parents taking care of their children, and more than anything to me as a parent.
Well, actually, there's several complications that can come up. Post-abortion depression is a big one. And not only that, but if these are underage kids, there's statutory rape being swept under the rug, and a parent is not given the opportunity to protect their child.
The whole issue is being neglected, and they're educating children in the schools how to use contraceptives and all of that, and that's being done by legal means somehow, that the schools can teach that. Social engineering. It's terrible. And this thing about not letting the parents have their way, think of what a bad example is set when some child gets away with it. The kids at school know it. It spreads through the school in a subterranean way, and other kids realize that, oh, maybe I should be having sex too, because you can just eliminate the results without telling your parents.
And there's a lot of that issue going on. Even the other side statistics, they're saying, well, most of the kids tell their parents. 60% will tell their parents. But that leaves 40% out of the 5,000 per year that are not telling their parents.
Every one of us was a 14-year-old child. The last thing you want to do, even if you have a good relationship with your parents, is disappoint them and know that you've done wrong and come under the wrath of even your loving parents. So you know how hard it is to tell your parents you have a bad grade.
Let me you're opening up a big issue here when you bring the family into it. This guy Obama is, get used to it. He's your daddy, and the rest.
After this November.
He's certainly trying to be everybody's daddy.
But, yeah, he wants to be everybody's daddy, and the government be your family. Well, he isn't. And when this, I won't call him a bad name, this foolish man that's president says that we got to have government medicine provided by the government and all that, by the great kind-hearted government. They're going to take over all of our medical care. He says because so many people are going without medical care because they don't have the government services yet. I took the trouble to make a list of some 16 different places, and in another program I'll bore you by reciting them. 16 different ways you can get medical care without the federal government or even state government being mixed up in it. America is a very generous country, and at the most basic level, you can't fall drunk in the street, or you can't starve to death in America. You cannot be ill in America without somebody taking you in out of the goodness of their heart, if the government doesn't already have a county program or one thing or another.
Our taxpayer
You've got
dollars,
hospitals
yes.
put in by, there's one on the west side by a Jewish organization, there's the Shriners, there's all kinds of wonderful hospitals that take people in. Nobody can be turned down at the emergency centers on a hospital. And this guy, and he ignores the biggest thing of all, is the family. The family.
Right.
In 1933, I damn near died because I got a ruptured appendix before anybody knew I was ill. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. That maybe explains why I'm strange. And, and another 6 weeks in the hospital. Nobody had any insurance on medical at all.
Right.
That just wasn't existing. But the families took care of people.
Right.
And my dad was a salesman.
Families took care of people, churches took care of people.
Right.
And that the government is not to take care of people. I just want to really quick, and then Peter, I want to go to you more about focusing on the family.
Let me just complete it in one little way.
Okay.
We're telling you how stinking lousy it is to have the government poke its hand in instead of the family. If you want to see how good it is when a government gets its snoot into providing a service, take a look at the schools of America, which stink compared to South Korea and Australia, Germany, Russia. They're all better than America on an international scale. We come out at Barrington, we're about 2/3 as good as the regular standard out there. We'd get a D+ in Barrington and the rest of the rich parts of Illinois, D+ compared to the foreign countries that we're now competing against. And we'll throw China into that as well. So that's what you get when the government runs something. Folks, Obama wants to take care of your health too. I don't believe that guy.
Peter, we were talking during the break too about school vouchers. Does the Thomas More Society do any lobbying or litigating or anything about that particular
we
subject?
haven't yet. That's something we'd be open to really on the religious liberty grounds, but at the same time, I mean, that is really a place where the legislature has to step in. And you've seen that in certain other states, including our neighbor in Indiana, neighbor in Wisconsin, where they're starting these programs to show that this can be successful. We almost had that pass here in Illinois, certainly, but I mean, that is a way to help to break the cycle of poverty, help to, and certainly pay off, the pension issues. I mean, I know as a village trustee, the pensions we have to deal with are the public safety pensions, so fire, police, et cetera. And for every police officer we hire, we have to make pension contributions of roughly 35%. So in other words, so we are, for every 3 officers that we hire, there's another guy that we really should be able to hire. We should be able to get 4 for the price that we're having to pay 3 because of the fact our pension systems are broken.
The thing is, for the firemen and the policemen, there are a lot of things wrong with their pensions, and I'm a booster of those guys, and I certainly don't want to do them any harm. But that is still a local problem, even though there are excesses in the way those pensions are done. And there are improvements that could be made for officers that have really been, taking the bullet for me, that ought to have a better pension. And some of the other abuses ought to be stopped. But that's still a local problem being handled by a local political group, your village, your town, and so forth. But by 1998, the stinking IEA union and the rest of the teachers union had so bankrupted the thing that the local people who were giving the whole thing since 1970 under the law then that what got enshrined in the Constitution, is that thing had outrun any ability to pay for it locally, and that's when they shifted it to the state. And the unions, thank you IEA, have bankrupted the state of Illinois, both financially and politically. It's got to be said. I mean, if you talk pensions, I'm not going to run down the firemen and policemen because they do a lot of good stuff still.
But I think that
we're paying for it locally.
Well, and the difficulty is, it's with that system, it's as if they had never. If you had continued in 1998, where school districts had to make all those payments. Yeah, we're getting to that point with the fire and police pensions. Yes. And so really, I mean, the way I look at it is, if the state government would get out of the way and let local municipalities design competitive pension and compensation packages for our police and fire, we could pay the bills, and we could design it ourselves to compete against our other neighboring municipalities to get the best guys in our force. But at least then we wouldn't have these state mandates that we're having to meet, and there's no money coming from the state to meet their own mandates.
But Peter, the big solution to this problem is getting lawmakers into office with the political will to go ahead and do these things. And we do have elections coming this year, and primaries are coming in a couple months.